Hi, thanks so much for joining me. So today I have to show you guys some classics and some modern classics that I want to read in 2024, and I'm also going to share with you some of the same that my daughter has goals to read next year. Yeah, so some of these for me are going to be rereads because I read them over 20 years ago, and I couldn't tell you even some of the main protagonists in these stories. I read them so long ago, so I want to give them another read and see if they still make the top of my list, because they were they were favorites of mine like 20 years ago. But yeah, so I'm going to share those with you guys. And also want to just say, if you're watching this video, I would love the encouragement if you enjoy this video to like the video and to subscribe if you're not already. I'm really trying to grow my channel, and I would really appreciate it. And it really just gives me some encouragement with you guys liking and subscribing and watching. Thanks. Okay, so this is Treasure Island. And my daughter wants to try this book in 2024. I actually haven't read this one either myself. I'm not too big of an adventure reader, and I'm familiar with the story. I heard it's a really good book, but this has definitely piqued her interest. It has, yeah, pirates and an island. And then this is The Adventures of Robin Hood. This one also piqued her interest. It's another one that I haven't read myself. This one has like a few illustrations, some black and white. Just a classic that she wants to try. When I was making this video, I asked her to put a little pile together, and this is her pile. Okay, so this one's I would call this a modern classic. If I'm wrong about that, I apologize. But this is The Giver by Lewis Laurie, and this was written in actually 1993. So I mean, I think it's I think it would be considered a modern classic. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I'm gonna go with that. It won a Newbery Medal, and so yeah. So this is just another book that a lot of people read when they were younger. I actually tried it, couldn't really get into it, and now my daughter really wants to try it. Hopefully she'll like it. And this is The Chronicles of Narnia by C.S. Lewis. So this again is I'm going to call it a modern classic. And my daughter really loves fantasy, so I really think she'll like it. And this is probably the first one she'll try out of these four. So this is a lot of the books in one big fat book. Yeah, so that was her pile for 2024. Now I'm going to show you mine. Now all of these were from my shelf and from my TBR cart. I didn't buy any new books for this video, and I'm trying to start reading books off my shelf, rereading that. Like I said, I haven't read in so long. And then some of these are newer that I bought over the past few months, but I just haven't read them yet. Okay. So the first two are by George Orwell in 1984 in Animal Farm. So I read these in college. They're super tiny little paperbacks. I would like to find hardbacks of these, so I'm going to keep my eye out soon. I'm going to probably do a haul at the end of December or the beginning of January, where I'm going to do a 2024 book haul. And I would like to try to find hardbacks of these because I need glasses to read this. This is so tiny, but I know that Brave New World, in 1984, made an impression on me when I read it 20 years ago. So I want to give them both another try. And then another tiny paperback is Aldous Huxley, Brave New World. So this is another one that made a big impression on me when I was in college, and I would like to give another try. So now this one, my daughter and I tried together as a read aloud, Little Women. And we didn't find success in reading it together as a read aloud. It just didn't work for us personally as a read aloud. So I want to sit down and try it on my own. So yeah, so this is one of those classics. I'm going to give it, actually the first try reading it on my own. Okay, here's another teeny tiny paperback, The Awakening by Kate Chopin. I think it's Chopin. I'm not sure, but so this book, I loved it when I was in college, but I don't remember it very much. I know it's about the life of a woman. Okay, so it has Awakening and other short stories. You know, I haven't read the other short stories in here. Now that I think about it, I didn't realize how short it was. So let's see. Okay, so the Awakening. Oh, wow. It has like a vintage smell. It just gave me the scent. This book I've been having for over 20 years. Okay, so the Awakening. Okay, so it's like 50-ish pages. So that's, and then it has some other short stories. Okay, so now I have a big book. It is the complete novels of Jane Austen. And I think it had this little imprint on here, but as I've moved so many times between the age of 18 and 40, it definitely got like misplaced, and I feel bad about that. But yeah, so this is Sense and Sensibility, Pride and Prejudice, Mansfield Park, Emma, Northanger, Abby, I don't know if I'm saying that. I can't tell with the font. I never read that one, but Persuasion and Lady Susan. Now, the only one I actually read of Jane Austen's work is Pride and Prejudice. So, I want to try all of her work. So, this is very ambitious for me. This is huge. I'm not even sure how this is going to fit because I use a book reader because I have neck issues. So, I'm going to keep my eye out when I do that book. I'm going to treat myself at the end of the year and do like a book haul for 2024. So when I'm out shopping at like thrift stores and stuff like that, and like maybe Barnes and Nobles, High Price Books, I'm going to keep my eye out to maybe check out getting a few hardbacks of these individually because this is so thick and it might be hard. I don't even know if it's possible to read on my book reader. So I do know that I loved Pride and Prejudice when I read it 20 years ago, and it's been a long time. So I want to try more of her work. I've been so familiar with her work, as most people are, through movies and just culture, but I really haven't sat down and tried more of it. Okay, so I'm excited. Now, Virginia Woolf, Mrs. Dalloway. This was one, again, I loved when I was in college, and I haven't sat down and read it since. So this is probably at the beginning of my list when I arrange these on my book cart. I'm really excited to try Mrs. Dalloway again. And then if I enjoy it again the second time, I really want to read The Hours, which is like adapted and like loosely based on Mrs. Dalloway. And then they also have a really good movie called The Hours, and I haven't tried the book. I saw the movie. So, yeah. Mrs. Dalloway takes place over the course of a single day in a woman's life in 1920s London. Flowers to buy, outfits to choose, but also a visit from a past lover and the tragic fate of a young war veteran who cannot adjust to life in post-war London. So, okay, so another big book is the Bronte Sisters. So, I read Jane Eyre every like 1 to 2 years. It's my favorite book of all time. So, Jane Eyre is the only book I actually read by Charlotte Bronte. So, I'm not going to read Jane Eyre again this year because I believe I reread it last year, but I never read The Professor and I never read Villette. So, I'm interested in trying those by Charlotte Bronte. I'm also interested in trying Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. And then also there's Agnes Grey by Anne Bronte. I haven't tried that one either. So this is another one. Now, I do have copies of Jane Eyre. So I don't usually read Jane Eyre from this one, but this is my only copy I have of all of the other ones. So I'm not sure if I'm going to like them, but I'm definitely very excited to try them. Now, this one's a little bit smaller than the Jane Austen one, so it might fit on my book reader. But yeah, so I'm excited to try the other books by the Bronte sisters and the other ones by Charlotte Bronte. Jane Eyre is just absolutely my number one favorite, all-time favorite book of all time. Okay, so now I'm getting into the books that I have never read before. So those are all books I'm rereading after like 20 years. Now I'm getting to the newer ones that are just new to me. This is Don Quixote, and I'm probably going to butcher his name, so I think it's Miguel de Cervantes. I'm Cervantes. Sorry. I've heard people say his name in my brain. I'm not good at pronouncing words. It just, yeah. But, okay. Especially names, of course, because it's just not in the common language. This is about, this guy. I think he gives himself the name Don Quixote, and he wants to be a knight, or he refers to himself as a knight. And I checked it out just to make sure I liked the writing, and I definitely liked the writing, and I definitely think it sounds really interesting. I'll be honest, it's been intimidating because it's 918 pages, and it's written so long ago that it kind of, it's kind of something to, I have to really get myself hyped up to read it. So I'm excited. Okay. So this is The Adventures of Tom Sawyer by Mark Twain. This is another one that's just referenced so much, and I never tried it. So I'll be interested to check out how his writing is. I sampled it, and I read the first chapter, and the writing seems pretty good for me. And I think I will hopefully have success with it and not DNF it, because my goal for 2024 is if I don't like a book, just DNF even more. I DNF'd over 70 books in 2023, and some of them I'll go back because I might think about them still, and I'm okay with DNFing and then going back. But my goal for 2024 is to actually quality over quantity. And I just read a lot of average books in 2023. And I want to tell myself, you know what? If you're reading a book and you kind of have a feeling it's going to be a 3, why put yourself through that? That's for me how I feel, how I want to move in the future. I just didn't have as many 5-star books in 2023 as I wanted, and that's kind of my goal for 2024, to hopefully get a little bit more. I mean, maybe that's being too ambitious, because honestly, if you can find even just one book you adore, then that's great. But maybe I'm being too hard on myself. I don't know. So this is D.H. Lawrence, Lady Chatterley's Lover. Sorry if I'm saying that correctly. Chatterley's. I don't know. Okay. This is another classic. And I don't think I've tried anything by D.H. Lawrence. So I think this one is a little bit about a relationship and a couple. It says they grow apart. The intellectual chatter of Clifford and his peers seems hollow to Connie. A woman of sensitivity and high sense of duty, she resigns to live her life in quiet repose, like one of the trees she passes in her walks through the woods. But she falls into a scandalous affair with her husband's gamekeeper. So, yeah, it sounds interesting about relationship and an affair. Okay. But yeah, so I want to try it. And then another goal I have for 2024 is to read more Dickens. So, Great Expectations is one of my favorite books of all time, and I read Oliver Twist this year, and it takes me a long time to read Dickens because his writing is so dense. But next up, I have David Copperfield, and I have A Tale of Two Cities. Now, I might start this book in 2023, which is when I'm currently filming this at the end of the year. So I might start it this year. I actually did kind of read a few pages. I really like it so far. I think it's first person, which I love first person, just like Great Expectations. Oliver Twist was not first person. I just am drawn to first person. But yeah, so I don't believe A Tale of Two Cities is first person. But I don't know if I'm going to be as interested in A Tale of Two Cities because, let's see. Dickens recreates the rage and terror of the French Revolution, contrasting it with the moral complacency of a desiccated social order in England. So this one I believe is might lose my interest a little bit. I'm not sure, just based on the fact that it sounds like a little bit more historical, political things. I'm more drawn to kind of quiet stories about people and family. So I'm not sure. Maybe it'll be that. but just reading, but I want to try it. And then this one really interests me because it seems like it's way more of like a character study and focused on, David Copperfield. And it says the novel that draws most closely from Charles Dickens' own life. Its hero, orphaned as a boy, grows up to discover love and happiness, heartbreak, and sorrow. So, I love that. That's what I loved about Great Expectations. I love orphan stories, and yeah. So I'm really excited. So I'm not sure if I'll get to this year or not. I mean, it's literally over 800 pages. No, I'm sorry. Oh, okay. It's exactly 800 pages. So it's another one that's a pretty big book, but I'm excited. I really am. I'm like rereading Mrs. Dalloway and then David Copperfield are like two of my most excited, anticipated reads for 2024. And then these are modern classics. These are by Toni Morrison, who has become, over the last few years, one of my favorite writers. So these are modern classics. This is Song of Solomon and Jazz. Now, so I read Beloved this year. I read The Bluest Eye this year. Loved both of them. So I'm excited to move on to more of her work. And she's very poetic in the way she writes. And so Milkman Dead was born shortly after a neighborhood eccentric hurled himself off a rooftop in a vain attempt at flight. For the rest of his life, he too will be trying to fly. So this sounds really interesting. And then Jazz. I honestly never heard of Jazz. Maybe it's just me, but to me this is a little bit less talked about of a lot of her books. So but the cover grabbed me. I got it at Half Price Books. It's like in the afterglow of a clean triumph, her widely celebrated. Okay, sorry. It is winter, barely 3 days into 1926, 7 years after Armistice. We are in the city around Lenox Avenue when all the wars are over and there will never be another one. At last, everything's ahead. Here comes the new, look out. There goes the sad stuff, the bad stuff, the things nobody could help stuff. Let's see. Joe Trace, in his 50s, door-to-door salesman of Cleopatra beauty products. Devoted husband shoots to death his lover of 3 months. Oh, okay, so this also sounds very interesting. By relationship and yeah. Okay, so that is my classics pile. I will say one other thing. Now, I do want to try to find Hard Times. I think it's called Hard Times by Dickens and Bleak House. Those are on my list that I'm looking for at thrift stores when I do my big book haul for 2024 at the beginning of the year. So yeah, so I'm looking for those two. I'm also looking for the hardbacks I told you guys of the Jane Austen separate ones. I'm possibly going to look for Wuthering Heights, like a hardback of it. And some hardbacks I told you guys of the small little like the paperbacks, like The Awakening, 1984, Brave New World. Yeah, so thanks so much. Have a good day or night. Bye.